Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to my 3 takeaways episode from the Alden Mills episode that I did this past Monday. That one was such a fun interview because, first off, I've never interviewed a Navy SEAL before. That's always something that I've really dreamed about because I've seen so many and listened to so many podcast interviews with Navy SEALs, and I'm always like, how badass would that be to interview a Navy SEAL? And then it was really special, too, because I remember getting the perfect push-up like for Christmas or my birthday or something when I was like, I can't even remember how old I was. I guess whenever it came out. So about 2009 or so, and thinking it was super cool. And that was one of the first things that really got me into fitness because my dad got me doing push-ups when I was young. And then we got the perfect push-up. We used that a lot. And it was just really cool to be able to kind of come full circle and be able to interview the guy that actually created that himself. But I hope you got a lot of knowledge from him and his experiences and his lessons from his stories, because I think the biggest thing that I've taken from him, and that you hear a lot, but that failure is so important. That's one of his biggest messages that he likes to get across to people. It's like, yes, he has a lot of these accolades. Yes, he's a Navy SEAL platoon commander. Yes, he created the perfect push-up. Yes, they were the fastest growing consumer products company back in 2009. He's always got a lot of these accolades, is my point. But he always makes sure he reminds people that he's failed 10 times more, 100 times more than he's actually succeeded. So you have to push yourself past what you think you're capable of, or just kind of like right to that threshold of what you think you're capable of, and be willing to fail so that you're willing to learn and grow from that. But let's go ahead and get right into my 3 takeaways. Number 1 is let the negative outcome account motivate you. And this is something that I hadn't really ever thought of before, believe it or not, because I know that I'm really motivated by the potential of positive things, positive outcomes happening in the future. I'm super motivated by thinking what could be down the road, by thinking like, oh my gosh, could I imagine like if I got to this point, or if I did this particular thing, just like that result just fuels me. But he talks about it from a different sense, in a lot of experiences in his life. He thinks about the bad things if he doesn't try something, or if he's not successful in a certain area. How is this going to affect the people that I love the most, the people that are closest to me? And then he thinks about what their reaction might be if he fails, or if he quits, if he stops. And he just thinks of how brutal that would be. And a specific experience for him was when he was in Navy SEAL training and he thought about quitting. He was like, what would my brother think? What would my parents think? What would those who love me and have supported me up to this point think? What would my rowing team think? And that gut-wrenching feel of what that possibility could feel like motivated him to keep going. And then he did that, another big experience for him moving down the road, when he was almost filed for bankruptcy. Before and after the perfect push-up, he thought about the feeling of walking into his kid's room and saying, all right, guys, I'm sorry, but we're going bankrupt. We're filing for bankruptcy. We're going to have to leave this house. We're going to have to pick up. We're going to have to move. And he literally spent time putting himself in that scenario, putting himself in the potential shoes that he could be in if he did that. And then he was like, there ain't no way in hell that I'm going to let that happen. So he really let that negative outcome account fuel him to move forward, because this is really something that I haven't really used much in the past and at this point. But I think that moving forward, that this is something that if I feel necessary and I feel strongly enough to put myself in that potential scenario, I think that could very much motivate me moving forward. So I think that's definitely something that I'm going to tap in for my own personal motivation. And I hope you do too. Takeaway number 2, one of my favorites: focus on the moment, not on the mountain. And I think this is really important. This is a really important lesson that a lot of us hear, but a lot of people don't take actual action on. Like, we have to get out of our own heads about thinking what could be, about so far down the road. How are we going to be set up financially? I'm in my head. I talked about this in the interview with him. I'm in my head about this more than I should be. Like, what should I look like down the road? How am I going to figure this out financially? How am I going to get the insurance benefits? How am I going to figure out my health care? All these things, right? Like, and they can overwhelm you if you look at the big picture, if you look at the mountain. But it's like, be successful today. That's all you need to worry about. Be successful today. And once you're done with that, go on to the next day. Go on to the next day. It's like, yes, to be successful today, you have to figure out a little bit of what that mountain looks like. But once you figure out what that mountain looks like, boil it down to the month, the week, the day, the hour. Because what that does is, when you see that small little result, that fuels your belief that your action is moving you closer to that mountain, to the top of that mountain. And when you see that little result, it fuels more belief and you take more action. You get more results, you get more belief, you get more action. And what that does is it continues you to focus on the present day. And I think that's one of the things that I've gotten better at, because on my whiteboard, I'm so honed in on what success looks like today that I don't even really have time to think about what it looks like too far down the road. So the more I can determine what success looks like today, the more I am focused in the present, and the less I'm worried about unless I'm wasting time worrying about what success should look like at the top of that mountain. So I hope you guys really learn a lot from that. Takeaway number 2 as well. And then takeaway number 3 is seek failure. I talked about it there in takeaway number 1. He's failed 10 times more than he's succeeded because he's pushed himself. And guys, here's what it really comes down to. To become the best version of yourself, or closer to the best version of yourself, you have to be something that you've never been before. In order to be something you've never been before, you have to do something that you've never done before. In order to do something you've never done before, you have to take a little bit of leap of faith that failure is a potential opportunity, but then you have to find it within yourself to be like, it is okay. The fact that the opportunity of failure is there is okay. Like, it's not something that you should let stop you from even taking action. Like, no, you shouldn't want to necessarily fail, because that shouldn't be the goal going into a certain action, but you should go into it knowing that the opportunity to fail is present, because you're extending yourself and you're pushing yourself to see what your limit truly is. Because the only way you're going to figure out what your limit is if you really push it. You push that boundary. And the only way you're going to be able to know what that boundary is if you push a little bit too far. So that's really why failure is so important to get to the best version of ourselves, is because you can only be something you've never been before if you do something you've never done before. So I hope you guys really enjoyed these 3 takeaways. I hope you enjoyed the episode with Alden. If you haven't listened to it yet, what are you waiting for? Like, literally do yourself a favor and go back and listen to it. Do yourself a favor and get the book Unstoppable Teams, The 4 Essential Actions of High Performance Leadership. Such a good book, talking about some of his experiences and his lessons as well. But again, real quick, my 3 takeaways. Number 1 is let the negative outcome account motivate you. Sometimes you have to think about how not doing something, or how quitting, or how failure is going to impact the ones that you love and how they see you, in order to motivate you to keep going. Takeaway number 2 is focus on the moment, not the mountain. Define what success looks like today and be present in attacking that, and then move on to the next day, and on the next day, one step at a time. Takeaway number 3 is seek failure. The only way that you're going to be something you've never been is if you do something that you've never done. I hope you guys enjoyed these 3 takeaways. Take action today. Be unstoppable so that you can get closer and closer to your best you.